Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at Ask Adam Torres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Jerome Myers on the line. He's founder and advisor over at the Myers Development Group. Jerome, welcome to the show.
Adam, grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I'm excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to talk about joint ventures versus syndication for buying real estate and your views on that. But before we do that, let's get a little bit further into what you're doing over at the Myers Development Group. Tell us a little bit more about the business, please.
Yeah, Adam, we buy broken apartment building businesses. And some people scratch their head and like, what do you mean building businesses? And so what we found is when you get into commercial real estate, banks enjoy financing it because there's a hard asset tied to it, but there's a business that you're operating, and because you're operating a business, if you can improve the net operating income, you can force the valuation of the property to go up. And so what I look for is properties that aren't performing optimally, and then working on that business to increase the value of it.
No, I love it, and I think it's a great transition. Let's get into today's topic. So, joint ventures versus syndication for buying real estate. I mean, where do you want to start with that one?
I think apartments have really become extremely popular in the space, and a lot of the educators around the country are encouraging people to go buy a huge apartment building. Hey, just go big, go buy something over 100 units. And so let's just say that costs $10 million. And the majority of people that I know have only bought a single family home, right? And unless you're in California, you probably haven't made a purchase of an asset over $500,000. And so I'm going to go from $500,000 or less to a $10 million purchase in one transaction. Just doesn't seem reasonable. So our team has decided to work with people to joint venture to buy apartment buildings. And so we're looking to do transactions that are $500,000 to $1.5 million to get people that first deal done. There's something called the law of the first deal. And basically it means that once you get that first deal done, the next deal comes quicker and easier, and it's usually bigger than the first one. And so the best way I can probably describe this is you are Captain Ahab, you're out in the boat, you're going hunting for Moby Dick, and you got this little dingy boat and you find this huge well. It's going to sink your boat because you're not adequately equipped to take down Moby Dick. So let's go tuna fishing. Let's go dolphin fishing first, pull down a smaller deal, get some experience, get some credibility in the space, and then work our way up to some of those bigger deals.
Oh, I love it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And so I want to get a little bit further into the education piece of what you're doing too. So, for example, I know you have a podcast. I mean, tell us a little bit more about that one too. I'm a big fan of helping podcasters.
Yeah, man. So MultiFamily Missteps is a podcast we launched about 3 weeks ago. And we're talking to people who are actually operating in a multifamily space from all over the country. And they're giving us the stories. They're giving us a peek behind the scenes. I think a lot of times people come on podcasts and present this rosy picture. It's rainbows and gold at the end of that rainbow. And the fact of the matter is there's a whole lot of stormy days in between, especially when you're running a business. And so we're getting people to tell their horror stories and the things that they wish they would have learned prior to getting into the business. And I'm telling you that I think this is going to be transformational for the way that people do real estate podcasts, especially apartment focused.
What were some of your big takeaways so far? I know there's a ton of them, but give us one or two.
So I think I had a guy out of California named Brian Burt come on. He's been in the industry for about 30 years. And he said, we got into this deal and we were underwater. I didn't want to ask the people that partnered with me on the deal to put money in because we ran out of cash in the actual business. And so I started writing a check. That check was $15,000 each month. And he did that for 3.5 years. I don't think most people have the stomach to do something like that, but to know that that's a potential will weed out the people who aren't ready to do stuff like that. I had a guy named Kenny Wolf who's out of Texas come on, and he spoke about how he was trying to coordinate the vacancies so that they could do a lift on the building because the foundation was damaged. and it took him over a year to get everything coordinated. He missed his projections on his pro forma, and because of that, there was some negative impact on the community as a whole. And so, we're getting those big stories. And then, we got people who, those guys probably own over 3,000 units apiece. We got another guy that came on. He just bought his first triplex, and he's explaining how he lost this. And he said, I've been in my condo, or I've been in my duplex for 3 weeks now, and this is the first week where I haven't heard any rats. And so there was a rat infestation in the property that he bought. He's house hacking, so he's living in one of the units, and he's just going through. He's actually living in a basement, but he's just going through that story. And it's just like, we got people from all ends of the spectrum sharing these stories. And, people can pretend like they can't learn from everybody, but Adam, you can learn from anybody, and it might not be for you, but it can help protect somebody that you know. And so, we just want to get people exposed to the space. And then from there, they can make decisions about what they're going to do and what investments they're going to make.
Man, that's so exciting. I love it. And here goes my story. So I have one of those first like fourplexes when I got out of college years ago. And I remember living one of the units and renting the other ones out. Middle of the night, somebody's banging on the door. I go outside. I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? And the water heater broke and all water everywhere, just flooded, terrible, like 3, 4 in the morning. I'm like, why did I get into this business? Another one. The worst ever, though, I feel like, is when you get the call from one of the tenants, like there's flies outside the door. We won't go into that one, but I've been through that one too. You're like, oh man, yeah, it's just not the best. So we're not trying to scare people away from real estate on this podcast. Just throwing this out there. But I highly recommend that you check out Jerome's podcast, because I know where these stories are going, and I 100% agree with you. You're like, when you're doing these episodes too, you're probably like, dang, that happened. What? That's crazy. So I get it, and you're gonna have a ball doing that podcast, man. So congrats on launching that. So that being said, Jerome, if somebody's listening to this and they want more information on the Myers Development Group, or to listen to your podcast, I mean, what's the best way for them to follow up and to connect?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to share, Adam. I think the best way for folks to connect, if they want to learn more about real estate investing, and specifically multifamily, and they want to dive deeper on syndication and joint ventures, we've got a free 4-step guide on myersmethods.com. And there you can get that free goodie. And there's also some other stuff. There's another 15-minute podcast that people can get by opting in. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm Jerome Myers on LinkedIn. Hopefully that'll get linked up in the show notes. And we also have another podcast for people who are interested in exiting the matrix and they want to hear stories of people who have done that successfully. We've got a podcast called Dream Catchers. And you'll see a big old me smiling on the cover of that one. And, that's a podcast we've been running for a little bit over a year now, right at 75 episodes. And, we've got a pretty good, strong listenership there.
That's awesome. Well, Jerome, been a pleasure having you on the show today. Great stuff you're doing. Love it, what you're doing in the real estate space. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video. I mean, I'd love to know what kind of things and projects you're working on. And Jerome, thanks again for coming on the show.